reaction. Thank you to all the players, coaches, staff, and fans of Raider Nation. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone. Raiders assistant Rich Bisaccia has taken over as the interim coach for now. But Chris Broussard, in a league that's trying to move forward, be more inclusive, what do you make of all this by John Gruden?
Well, obviously, he had to go, Jenna. I mean, he insulted a number of people groups that are represented not only within the league, but within the Las Vegas Raiders organization. And while I think every single team would have fired or led Gruden to resign under duress, however you want to phrase it, after these emails surfaced, it can't be lost on people that the Oakland Raiders or the Raiders organization, Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, they've arguably been the NFL's model franchise for diversity, arguably. And that started under Al Davis, the late owner, whose son Mark now runs the team and obviously hired John Gruden a few years ago. But the Raiders were the first NFL team in the modern era to hire a black coach in Art Shell. They were the first team to hire a Hispanic coach in Tom Flores. They were the first team to have a female executive in former CEO Amy Trask. And before this season, their defensive end, Carl Nassib, came out as gay and became the first openly gay player to play in a regular season NFL game. So with all of that, I mean, John Gruden was obviously going against all that Al Davis and this franchise had stood for in terms of diversity and inclusion, not to mention the league. I mean, you have messages of stop hate and inspire change on the back of players' helmets, in the end zones, in racism, things like that. And to have a head coach with a plethora of emails going against all of that was just untenable. I think he would have, or at least in the short term, he would have, Nick, survived the first email about DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the Players Association. But he... that may have been short term because it would have depended on how the players responded to him because they were listless in that game against Chicago the other night. But long term, after these emails surfaced, there's no way he was going to last.
Gruden had a tiny bit, and it was tiny, but a tiny bit of wiggle room around the DeMaurice Smith email. And that wiggle room is he's just an idiot. It was the only reason John Gruden deserved any benefit of the doubt was, is he really dumb enough to not know that calling a UVA grad, established lawyer, who happens to be a black man, dumb, and comment on the size of his lips wasn't racist. And the only possible out there is, I'm literally just a stupid man. And I'm unaware of all of American history, contemporary tropes, and racism. And it's like, all right, is he that dumb? Maybe, I guess, if the players and guys that have worked with him are going to defend him. I haven't been around Gruden. I'll give you the 1% chance you didn't know exactly what commenting on the size of DeMaurice Smith's lips actually means. But there is no wiggle room here. He used the most offensive slur imaginable for gay people and directed it seemingly haphazardly at anyone and everyone who he thought wasn't acting man enough or tough enough. He called gay players queers. And to go back to the stupid part, he's out here sending naked pictures of women to other grown adults on their work emails. Where you do that at? And I understand that we have done this weird thing for some people where anything that happened in the past, some people want to act like was a youthful indiscretion. These emails started when John Gruden was 48 years old, and they went up until 2018. Wilds, listen, I am not a huge fan of the thing that some folks do, which is the moment a player gets drafted into the league. It's like, hey, here's a tweet from when he was 13 years old. I'm like, okay, that's a little unfair. Right. Even like, he's a kid, he's an idiot. But this is John Gruden as a grown man, having worked in the NFL, still working with the NFL, sending naked pictures of cheerleaders, using horrible language about any and every group that he's not a part of, and doing it amongst others. And by the way, Bruce Allen and the other people CC'd on these emails, we're not going to talk about them today because they're not John Gruden and the head coach of the Raiders, but they look damn near as bad. Because I guarantee you that, Wilds, and I'll throw it to you, that if someone sent you an email using that type of language, you have a very terse response and then say, remove me from this chain, please. You don't guffaw and laugh along with it. So this was a no-brainer for the Raiders, and I'm shocked Gruden didn't resign Sunday night because he knew these were coming. He knew they were out there and that it was going to continually be dripped until he finally quit or got fired.
Yeah, so he coached on Sunday night, and after the game, which Broussard mentioned was a listless performance, the players had to answer, hey, why'd you guys play so badly? And Josh Jacobs said, oh, there's nothing to do with it, and Perryman said he wanted to focus on football, and Yannick Ngakoue said, oh, I have no comment. So here's what that made me think, Broussard, and I'll throw it to you. The NFL is a world-class organization with world-class players, and they deserve world-class leadership. And when I thought about these players, I said, you know what? The average length of an NFL career is 3 years. So every guy playing 4 years, there's another guy playing 2. Every guy playing 5 years, there's another guy playing 1 year. If you deserve a coach that is 100% focused on your success and you following your dreams, because your career might end that Sunday. That's what you deserve as a player. I know there's a lot of conversation about what John Gruden deserves. You deserve exemplary leadership. There's only 32 jobs in the world. You could be the 33rd best head coach in the world and basically not have a job. So these players deserve better. It was an untenable situation. It was smart to resign from John Gruden.
Well, you deserve better. Let's face it, and I'll make this point quickly because it's not the scope of this conversation, but John Gruden, his last 9 years as an NFL head coach, not including this season, he made the playoffs twice.
Not good.
So beyond all of this madness, we can question how good of a coach John Gruden really was. This is the 4th season with the Raiders, and they had yet to have a winning record. And obviously, they seem to be trending downward before he resigned. But one of the ironic parts of this whole conversation and scenario is that John Gruden's explanation for the DeMaurice Smith emails, that he uses the term rubber lips to describe people that are lying. Like, when I first heard Gruden say that, I immediately Googled rubber lips to see, is this a colloquialism or is this a term that people use to describe liars? And I couldn't find it. I could not find that description of it. So ironically, John Gruden, to use his term, was using rubber lips when he defended himself against the DeMaurice Smith emails. And this is a guy, and obviously lip size, a lot of African Americans have full lips and things like that. He's been around African Americans for how long? Decades, right? He's been a football coach. He's been a football coach and working with African Americans. So for him to act like he didn't understand that is a physical feature common to many African Americans is ludicrous as well, and speaks to how, again, he was talking with, to use his term, Nick, rubber lips. Yeah,
well, well put. And I mean, there are no redeemable outs here for Gruden. And I want to throw this to Jenna in a moment for a particular reason. But first, I want to say one other thing to the audience. Be careful today on who you allow to construct this narrative. Because there is a large segment of the population and the media who will bend over backwards to find any and every possible explanation or defense of past acts of bigotry.